In the scorched embrace of the Arizona Badlands, where the sun bled crimson into the horizon and the wind carried the ghosts of forgotten cattle drives, Caleb Ryder rode alone. He was a man carved from the unforgiving earth, broad-shouldered, with eyes like weathered sandstone and hands calloused from rains that had led him through a lifetime of solitude. At 35, Caleb had outrun regrets as easily as he outpaced mustangs, but the ranch he called home was a hollow echo, a sprawling expanse of sagebrush and silence that mirrored the ache in his chest. His wife had left him 5 years back, taking their dreams and leaving only the dust. It was on a blistering afternoon in late summer that he found her. His horse, old Jericho, had thrown a shoe miles from the nearest trail, forcing Caleb to trek back toward the riverbed on foot. That's when he saw the faint plume of smoke rising like a prayer from the arroyo. Warily, he approached, his Colt holstered but his senses sharp as a hawk's cry. There, huddled against a crumbling adobe wall half buried in sand, was a woman. She was a vision of fragility amid the brutality, raven hair tangled with thorns, skin pale as moonlit porcelain, and eyes the color of storm-tossed seas. Her dress, once a soft lavender calico, was torn and stained, wrapped around her like a shroud. She didn't startle when he emerged from the scrub. Instead, she lifted her gaze, those oceanic eyes locking onto his with a quiet defiance that pierced him deeper than any bullet. "Water," she whispered, her voice a fragile thread woven with pain. Caleb knelt, offering his canteen without a word. As she drank, he noticed the makeshift sling binding her arm, the way she winced with every swallow. "Name's Caleb," he said finally, his drawl rough as gravel. "You got one." "Serafina," she murmured, the name rolling off her lips like a melody from a distant harp. "Sarah, to those who earn it." There was a lilt to her words, a hint of eastern shores she'd fled, though she offered no more. In that moment, something stirred in Caleb, a flicker of protectiveness he thought long buried. He couldn't leave her there. Against the growl of his instincts, he fashioned a litter from his saddle blanket and branches, carrying her back to his ranch as Jericho limped alongside. The days that followed blurred into a tender vigil. Sarah spoke little of herself, only that she'd come west chasing whispers of freedom from a life that had chained her spirit. Caleb tended her wounds, the gash on her forehead from a fall, the sprained ankle swollen like a storm cloud, but there was a shadow in her eyes, a guarded sorrow that made him ache to unravel it. Evenings found them on the porch, the sky a canvas of fading gold, where she'd hum fragments of lullabies in a language he didn't know, and he'd whittle mesquite figures by lantern light, a horse for her, fierce and unbroken. One night, as thunder rumbled like the gods' discontent, Sarah's fever broke. She sat up in the feather bed he'd given her, sweat-dampened sheets clinging to her like secrets. Caleb was there, as always, a basin of cool water in hand. "The pain, it's easing," she said, her voice steadier now. But as he reached to adjust the compress on her shoulder, she recoiled, a sharp hiss escaping her lips. "No, there. It hurts, there too." Her words were a whisper, barely audible over the rain lashing the window panes, but they landed like shards of glass in his soul. Caleb froze, his hand hovering. "Sarah, darlin', let me see. Can't heal what I don't know." His voice was gentle, coaxing, the way he'd soothe a spooked colt. She searched his face, those sea eyes brimming with a tempest of fear and longing. Slowly, with trembling fingers, she untied the loose knot at her collar. The fabric parted like a veil torn by fate, revealing not just the bruise blooming purple across her collarbone, but the cruel map etched beneath, scars, thin and silvered with time, crisscrossing her ribs like the bars of a forgotten cage. Whip marks, old and new, layered like pages in a diary of torment. And lower, hidden until now, a jagged line snaking from her hip, puckered and angry, as if some beast had clawed its way into her very core. But it was the tattoo that shattered him, a faded rose, thorns dripping ink blood, encircled by the initials J.M. in possessive script. Caleb's breath caught, the room spinning as recognition dawned. Josiah Monroe. The name clawed up from the depths of his past, a specter he'd buried under miles of dusty trails. Josiah, his boyhood friend turned monster, the silver-tongued gambler who'd vanished east with a bride on his arm years ago. Sarah, Serafina Monroe. His wife. No, not his. Josiah's. The men who'd beaten the light from her, branded her like chattel, and left her for dead when she dared whisper of leaving. The truth crashed over Caleb like a flash flood, sweeping away the fragile peace he'd built. He staggered back, collapsing into the rocker by the hearth, his world fracturing into jagged pieces. How had he not seen it? The lilt in her voice, the way she shied from raised hands, the rose she'd traced absent-mindedly in the dirt one afternoon. Josiah's rose, a mocking emblem of love turned poison. Caleb's fists clenched, knuckles widening, as visions assaulted him. Sarah, not a stranger but a survivor of the same darkness that had tainted his youth. Josiah, the brother he'd lost to greed and rage, now the architect of her hell. The betrayal wasn't just Sarah's silence, it was his own blindness, his failure to protect what fate had returned to him in broken fragments. Tears carved trails down his dust-streaked cheeks, tears he hadn't shed since his own heart had cracked open. "Why didn't you say?" he choked out, voice raw as an open wound. Sarah reached for him then, her scarred hand covering his, a bridge across the chasm. "Because you saw me, Caleb. Not the ruins, but the woman beneath. And I was afraid you'd see the monster's mark and turn away." He pulled her close, careful as if she were spun glass, their foreheads touching in the lamplight's glow. "Ain't no monster here but the one who done this. And he'll answer for it, Sarah. I swear on every star in this godforsaken sky." In that vow, something unbreakable forged between them, not pity, but a fierce, redemptive love, born from shared scars and the courage to whisper truths into the storm. Word spread like wildfire through the territories. Josiah Monroe, hunted by a ghost from his past, cornered in a dusty saloon under a harvest moon. Caleb faced him not with bullets, but words laced with the weight of betrayal. "You broke her light, brother. But light don't die, it rises." Josiah's end came swift, not by Caleb's hand but by the law's cold justice, his empire of cruelty crumbling to ash. In the quiet aftermath, Sarah and Caleb rebuilt on the ranch's sun-warmed earth. She planted roses, thornless now, their petals unfurling like promises kept. He carved her name into the porch rail, a testament etched in wood. And on still nights, when the wind hushed its secrets, she'd whisper not of pain, but of healing. "It mends, here too." In each other's arms, they found not just survival, but the wild, untamed bloom of a love that shattered chains and stitched souls anew. For in the heart of the Badlands, where whispers could fell giants, they learned that truth, though it breaks, is the forge of the unbreakable. Thank you for watching this story till the end. Sparkles. If it touched your heart, please support us. Thumbs up, give it a like. Speech balloon, share your thoughts in the comments. Bell, subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. Your support helps us create more stories that inspire and make you believe in miracles. Your participation means a lot to us, Red Heart.